Resolution, FPS, and codec affect megabits per second. I'll explain this in a simple way. And in what context are we going to use this? When it comes to our objective, it's not just about installing cameras when we want to carry out the project. For example, here we have a monitoring center, and this monitoring center needs to send images from one location to another. This data is in megapixels. This data goes to an antenna, it leaves the camera, and we have another antenna that will receive this information for the monitoring center. But for this information to travel in the best way, we need to know if this antenna has the capacity to receive the number of cameras, the amount of megapixels generated by the cameras that will be transmitted. Thank you. To transmit, this antenna requires us to choose a channel, and this channel is measured in megahertz. This megahertz allows us to determine how many megabits can pass through this channel, knowing that if we use channel 20, it is equivalent to 100 megabits. So this means that for cameras up to 80, when you have cameras, you have up to 80 megabits here. We can send and it will transmit normally. And if it's for internet as well, we need to do this calculation based on the internet link. It is essential for us to determine exactly the specific amount of upload data we need to send and the volume of data we are required to receive here as download at the monitoring center's dedicated upload stream. Let's suppose these are the cameras here. We will have them and then perform the download here to view the image in real time. And if all the data is not properly mixed by the radio and able to transmit the bandwidth information, and if the measurement here of bitrate, resolution, FPS, and codec is not properly dimensioned, this will cause freezing, it will cause problems here, and this problem will be freezing, delay, and the image will freeze. So that's why we see the image freezing, because an adequate calculation wasn't done to at least know how much we would need. Now let's access our camera so we can see in practice what the behavior is like. It is influenced by resolution, FPS, and compression. Let's see in practice how many megabits the camera uses as we change the resolution, FPS, and compression. Let's go here in the advanced IPS scanner software. Let's do a scan using range 1, and if that doesn't work, then we'll use range 0. Let's do a scan that will perform a check. So we saw that the software performed the scan. We didn't find any active devices because if it were active, it would light up blue. Let's change the camera's range. Let's change the camera's range here and set it to range 0. Let's run a check. These are best practices. To find out the camera's IP, we also need to assign a static IP to the computer. So here I have several devices found. Since I know the brand of the camera here, the likelihood that this is the correct IPv6 is higher. So here it's active. We also have one here that is not active. Let's access this camera, enter the username and password, and log in. First, let's navigate over to the settings menu. Once you are inside the settings, we will need to go ahead and select the video tab. Within the video section, you will find the resolution settings located right here. You can see that we have both the mainstream and the substream options available. This mainstream setting is primarily intended for high-quality local viewing or for your primary recording. However, if we are currently using a transmission over the internet, then we will want to use the substream option here instead to save bandwidth. The calculation will be based here on the substream. So here we have, let's choose the data, the codec. Let's choose the most advanced one, which is H.265. Obviously, this codec compresses more compared to these others here, H.264. Let's choose this codec, and here we can also keep smart on and set the resolution. The resolution here is 1080p, which is equivalent to 2 megapixels per frame. Let's go ahead and select exactly 25 frames per second. And then for the specific bitrate setting, we will choose a high quality constant bitrate. And here with the constant bitrate selected, let's see what kind of results we get for our final output. A data transfer rate of 2 megabits per second is exactly equal to 2048 kilobits per second. This digital data transmission can be measured in either megabits or kilobits depending on the specific context. If we decide to adjust the settings for the FPS here, for example, if we manually set the FPS in this menu to exactly 15 frames per second, just to use that as a specific example, and we set a codec H.264, and we'll see here that the bitrate, the transmission in megabits per second, increased considerably. That's why when transmitting data, we need to take these three aspects into account: the codec, the resolution, and the FPS. So this will generate the bitrate. The bitrate, it's the measure of transmission speed per second, the amount of megabits or kilobits that will pass per second. We saw here in practice what changed for our project, so let's go back. Let's choose H65 again, keep it at 1080, and select 25 FPS. Bitrate type constant and variable. Here it's constant. Let's leave it exactly like this for now. So this will be our final project setup, and in order to subscribe, let's go ahead and choose this option here for online. All right, that's definitely the best option available, and I chose this specific quality here. It can be this VGA resolution, okay, using a variable bitrate, yes, and the FPS, well, that's perfectly fine, and we'll just leave it like that for the time being. That's how we're going to save it. This is our base. Afterwards, we'll do a calculation to find out how many cameras we have in the project. 30 cameras, how many antennas we'll need, and which channel we should choose based on this data. Only this way can we know which channel to choose, what is the appropriate infrastructure according to the camera, and also how many radios will be necessary and how we will distribute them. And here, when subscribing, we need to know what is the appropriate link we are going to purchase in terms of upload. In this case, if the camera is at the client's location in terms of upload, we will define it here. We will have an idea before we proceed to the calculation, and then we will see how to choose the channel on the radio. We do another scan, okay? We do a scan. There are some newer ones, and here we have SP10, IP36. They are probably the radio's IPs, okay? We are here on the radio, For us, we can choose which is the appropriate channel here. In the project, we go here to configuration, here in configuration, then to channel, and then to channel. Here we click and we can choose which channel it is. Here we have channel 20/40, the channel starting from 20 or 40, channel 20 for example. Channel 20, in terms of channel 20, the unit is megahertz, 20 megahertz. But the actual capacity it supports in terms of data coming from here is 80 to 100 megabits. But there are some elements we need to take into account. Let's go here to information, here network. We have to consider the signal strength, which is RSSI. Here, a normal good signal starts from -35, -25, which is the radio. Here, it's very close. And also taking into account the SNR here, 96, also from 50 upwards would be very good. 96, 95. That's because the radios are very close to each other. These factors also greatly influence the transmission. And here we have the megabits, where the radio supports up to 144 megabits. For us, we have an idea up to a certain number of cameras. If our radio will really be able to handle the transmission, we look here, we choose the type of equipment. There's camera, IP, DVR, NVR. Let's choose IP camera. Let's choose the manufacturer. I'm going to choose hikvision here, hikvision, and I'll set the model. I'll set the quantity. Let's suppose I'm at a location with 30 cameras. I am interested in finding out if through a series of network switches, I can successfully link all 30 of these cameras together and transmit the video signal to a single radio. Let's, according to our project, choose H.265 here. The FPS can stay at 25 and we can choose 1080 for the resolution. Medium quality. And here we can also set the number of recording days if we want to. 7 days, 24 hours, 55% motion, uninterrupted recording. This is the basic information I need to know according to my project. And when I finish, if I want to finish here, add device. data device, so the result is already here. This means that in a project where I will use this camera model, 30 cameras I will use, right? The bandwidth I need is 48 megabits, 48 megabits. This is a lot because of, and the codec helped a lot. I believe that if it were an H.264 codec, this value would double, because now compared to H.265, it is much more advanced. 30 cameras, which means that with this antenna we have here, with this antenna I can send, here it is, 144 megabits I can send, and 30 cameras accordingly. Our project for that antenna will have 1080 resolution at 25 frames per second. Normally, some of the cameras use H.265. And if I want to know how much storage is needed for 7 days, it's 3 terabytes that will be required for your project. And if we want, we can come here to finalize the project, and we still have all the information here. And since it's monitoring calculation software, it tells you the processor capacity, RAM and hard drive space you'll need for your specific project. But that's not what matters to us in this lesson. What really matters here is understanding how to choose the FPS, the codec, and the resolution. To what extent does it influence the megabits? This right here, this is the title of our lesson, as we already know. And through this antenna, we can transmit, or we can also use another option. Let's see, because for gigabits, we can use fiber optics or another option. Let's choose an option here. Let's simulate without finalizing the project. Let's go into the project, select 24H64, and see how it behaves, where to set up the project here. Okay, let's go right here to the codec settings. Let's make some quick changes to the setup. Here is the codec menu. We have H.264 selected here. And now let's go ahead and finalize the entire project. And that's it for today. So we can see that if you don't change the resolution or FPS on the camera, this will greatly affect your equipment. Very little if I keep it as is. Here it goes up to 100 megabits, and here it already gets complicated. But as a professional technician, which is what you're learning to be here with the instructor, Veríssimo, you'll go to your camera's video settings, and here you'll set the codec, which is the appropriate one, and you'll also set the resolution and FPS properly. Here, the project will record, and you'll have more options, right? We can go there, let's change it, let's really set it up. Keep in mind that just by changing the codec here, a lot has already changed. If we change the resolution here and also the frame rate, it will directly influence, just pick one of these three. It will directly affect the result of the transmission here, the data per second, whether in kilobits or megabits. Let's go here to Upgrade Device, and we have, so here again, the information is being processed. Okay, here we have it again. It completely changed to 48 megabits per second from the beginning of the lesson. We didn't even mention it. We can create a local monitoring center for a condominium or several residences, various points in the city or country. We'll receive it at a central hub, and then we're required to have a VPN or internet connection. We will also need to know how many megabits of upload we need through this site. I'll also leave the link in the description so I can find out what my internet speed is. I'll click OK. So here it's processing. So the internet speed varies from 14 to 8 megabits per second. 14 to 8 megabits when running the test. On average, it's 7.9 megabits per second. Let's see here. There is more information and more information. Let's see where it is. 10 is download at this moment. 10 is download. And where is it here? Upload varies from 3 to 3 megabits per second of upload in megabits per second. For CCTV, what matters to us is the upload, 2 megabits per second. How many cameras can I send through this connection without using the internet? Let's go to the calculator here. Let's create the project. We already have the camera. The technology is okay. We just need to change a few things here according to our project. All right, setting it to 5 FPS, we choose this codec, VGA. Even over the internet, the bandwidth is very low. Let's go back and check. It's an upload of 2.9 megabits. That's 2.9 megabits. I am going to navigate over to the project here, and I will configure the settings to match the specifications of our camera, which is 15 frames per second. 15 frames per second. H.265. Let's adjust the resolution here. The resolution we chose is this one, 640 by 480. Let's make sure 640 by 480, check it out. That's really the resolution, medium quality, and let's see the number of cameras. Let's set approximately how many cameras, where is the quantity, codec, resolution, number of cameras, where is it? And let's put here, let's start with, for example, 5 cameras. In this case, it's a client's residence that we want to advise. How much of the client link needs to be uploaded? To send this information to our central office, we know and also calculate how much download speed we need to receive it. 5 cameras, we are here and we are going to do the upgrade here. And right here on Apple Drive, we currently have 5 different cameras running. At this specific 5 FPS resolution setting, we are seeing a data rate of approximately 800 KB per second. It doesn't reach 1 mega KB per second. This means that with the upload speed of my connection, I can send signals from 5 cameras, and I believe I could even add another camera. So it's easy for me, and if I want to improve a little, maybe I could sacrifice something. Let's see, I'll go to the camera, let's check it out. The quality is possibly a little, how is the graininess of the quality? Better yet, let's focus a bit on quality. Let's go to our project. If we have this quality, let's check it out. In other words, if looking at the resolution settings we have, let's see what resolution this geo megabits here is on the camera. No, here this is 1 megabit and this geo megabits. So the camera here simply doesn't allow us to go any higher. The maximum it has is D1, which is the highest available. And here we have 1 megabit. So we can just leave it at this resolution. It's good enough. Now we're simply going to increase the total number of cameras in the setup. Let's put, for example, 12 cameras. Yes, 12 cameras. Okay, let's work with 12 cameras. Let's see. Let's go ahead and calculate the per up rate for these 12 cameras. That is going to be exactly 2 megabits of upload speed that I'm going to need for this, since right here it is currently showing 2.9. So there's already a safety margin. It's enough to send. It won't get stuck because here we've done all the calculations. So that's your edge. Something you as a technician should know. A very common mistake among many technicians. It's when we want to install the camera and don't calculate the megabits, just ignore it and use Ploid. We just want to install it and that's it. And also using a channel, if you use a narrow channel here, we know that this channel we have here is 20 megahertz, which goes up to 140. If you require more bandwidth, like 200 megabits, then I'll have to change the channel here. Many technicians ignore this aspect and end up with a lot of problems, which we already know is the camera freezing. To wrap up our lesson, as a reminder, we should know that cameras generate traffic, and the traffic that cameras generate is video. If it doesn't generate video, it's not video. And on the network, the infrastructure, which can be radio, twisted pair cable, or fiber optic, is what transports this data. The data goes from one place to another, and our receivers, NVRs, DVRs, or computers for the monitoring center receive this information. What do? They record, process this data, and we can also view and analyze this data. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to. Learn more, become an expert, really understand it well. About IP CCTV, I have a course. Just click the link in the description. You'll find the IP networks for CCTV course, where you'll start from the basics of CCTV networks and go all the way to advanced topics. Want optimized network knowledge for CCTV? We talk about radio, a lot of things. Click the link in the description to become a standout technician. You already know it's Instructor Veríssimo. I love to learn, I love to teach.